You look down at the dirt beneath your boots. The ground feels ancient and permanent, but the earth beneath you is a relentless, churning recycling machine that completely erases history over millions of years. Plate tectonics constantly push the crust of the earth deep into the fiery mantle to be melted down and forged anew. You are standing on a thin crust that is constantly being destroyed and replaced. Where does the evidence of the deep past actually go? If an advanced industrial civilization existed on this planet 100 million years ago, every single trace of their cities would be entirely gone. Their steel bridges would have rusted into microscopic powder. Their glass skyscrapers would have shattered and dissolved into basic silica sand. Their plastic waste would have degraded into invisible chemical markers locked deep inside sedimentary rock. How could you possibly prove they were ever here? This is not just a bizarre thought experiment for science fiction writers. This is a genuine scientific inquiry that has shaken the foundation of modern geology. In 2018, astrophysicist Adam Frank and NASA climate modeler Gavin Schmidt published a groundbreaking paper investigating this exact concept. They wanted to know if a pre-human industrial civilization could have existed millions of years ago without leaving any obvious traces. They called their idea the Silurian Hypothesis, naming it after a fictional reptilian race, but applying completely rigorous, real-world science to the question. They asked a beautifully simple yet deeply unsettling question. If an intelligent species built a global industrial empire 50 million years ago, what specific chemical footprint would they leave in the geological record? The answer they found is absolutely terrifying. You might never even notice it. Look at the sheer, incomprehensible scale of deep time. The Earth is roughly 4.5 billion years old. Complex life has existed on this planet for at least 500 million years. Our entire human species has only been here for about 300,000 years. That is barely a microscopic sliver of time on the planetary clock. Our industrial age is even shorter and more chaotic. We have only been burning coal, driving cars, and building factories for about 300 years. That is essentially a rounding error in the vastness of geological history. What if another species had a similarly short, explosive industrial burst millions of years ago? Would we ever know they existed? You probably think we would find their bones. You grew up looking at massive dinosaur skeletons in natural history museums. You assume that if something lived on Earth, it eventually turns into a fossil for us to dig up. But fossilization is an incredibly rare, almost impossible biological miracle. A body must fall into perfectly still, anoxic water where no oxygen can reach it. It must be covered almost instantly by soft sediment to protect it from scavengers. It must remain completely undisturbed by earthquakes, tectonic subduction, and erosion for tens of millions of years. Most organic matter simply rots away into nothingness. Dinosaurs ruled this planet for over 160 million years. That is an almost incomprehensible amount of time to dominate an ecosystem. Yet, the total number of complete dinosaur skeletons we have actually discovered is shockingly low. If an ancient alien civilization lasted for only 100,000 years, they might leave absolutely zero fossils. We could easily miss their entire existence just by digging in the slightly wrong place. We have only explored an incredibly tiny fraction of the Earth's crust. It is entirely possible their remains are buried under miles of solid bedrock. Or perhaps their entire continent was dragged down into the Earth's mantle and completely melted into magma. So how do we actually find them? We have to stop looking for bones and buildings. We have to look for invisible chemical ghosts trapped in the layers of ancient rock. We have to look for the planetary scars of an industrial society. When a civilization industrializes, it drastically changes the chemistry of the entire planet. We are doing this right now with terrifying efficiency. We are pulling massive amounts of ancient, buried carbon out of the ground. We are burning fossil fuels and pumping millions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This leaves a permanent, undeniable chemical scar in the geological record. Carbon comes in different weights, called isotopes, and plants strongly prefer to absorb a lighter version, called carbon-12. When we burn fossilized plants like coal and oil, we flood the atmosphere with this lighter carbon-12. This drastically shifts the global ratio of carbon isotopes in the air and the oceans. The Earth meticulously records this shift in the sedimentary rock forming at the bottom of the sea. Millions of years from now, a geologist could look at the rocks forming today and see a massive, unnatural spike. They would know something extraordinary and highly disruptive happened. They would see the exact footprint of our existence. But have we ever seen a spike like this before? 56 million years ago, the Earth experienced a catastrophic climate event known as the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. Geologists usually just call it the PTM. It was a period of incredibly intense and rapid global warming where the temperature of the entire planet skyrocketed in a geological instant. The ice caps completely melted and palm trees grew at the North Pole. Sound uncomfortably familiar. During the PTM, massive amounts of light carbon were suddenly injected into the atmosphere. The carbon isotope ratios shifted dramatically and suddenly, exactly like they are doing today under human influence. The oceans became highly acidic, causing many deep-sea organisms to go completely extinct. It looks exactly like the chemical signature of a massive global industrial event. Was the PTM actually caused by an ancient reptilian civilization burning massive amounts of coal? Probably not. Most mainstream scientists believe it was caused by massive volcanic eruptions burning through deep underground coal seams, or perhaps the sudden release of frozen methane from the ocean floor. But it proves a terrifying and sobering point. A massive natural disaster and a sprawling industrial civilization leave the exact same chemical signature in the rocks. They are practically indistinguishable from each other in the deep geological record. If highly intelligent beings burned fossil fuels 56 million years ago, it would look exactly like the PTM. We literally cannot tell the difference between a natural climate crisis and an ancient alien apocalypse. Carbon isn't the only marker we leave behind. What else are you currently stamping into the Earth's permanent record? You produce massive amounts of synthetic nitrogen to fertilize your vast agricultural fields. This fundamentally alters the global nitrogen cycle, leaving strange isotopic residues in the soil that will last for millions of years. You mine rare earth elements and concentrate them into dense urban centers. You create highly radioactive isotopes, like plutonium-239, that simply do not exist in the natural world. Dr. Jan Zalasiewicz is a renowned geologist who meticulously studies the Anthropocene. The Anthropocene is the proposed scientific name for our current geological epoch, defined by massive human impact on the Earth. He studies exactly what physical evidence humanity will leave behind for future species to find. He calls our future fossil record the urban stratum. It is a profoundly grim and fascinating picture of our legacy. Every single sprawling city on Earth will eventually be crushed and compressed by the weight of time. New York, Tokyo, London, and Paris will all share the exact same fate. They will be compressed into a single, incredibly dense layer of sedimentary rock. That layer will likely only be a few centimeters thick. It will contain bizarre, unnatural concentrations of refined metals, microplastics, and radioactive fallout. That tiny, strange band of rock is your entire legacy. Or plastic waste is perhaps the most defining and permanent clue you are leaving behind. You have produced billions of tons of synthetic polymers in the last century alone. It is heavily concentrated in the oceans, the soil, and even the bodies of the animals you eat. Over millions of years, this plastic will degrade into microscopic particles and eventually fossilize. It will form a bizarre, carbon-rich chemical layer in the future sedimentary rock. Will future geologists recognize it as an artificial creation, or will they just assume it is a weird natural phenomenon they don't quite understand? It is impossible to know for sure. They might just classify it as a strange biological die-off event. They might completely miss the fact that an intelligent, tool-making species was ever here. This leads to the most counterintuitive and profound twist of all. The paradox of civilization dictates that the more advanced you are, the less of a trace you leave behind. If a truly advanced civilization is completely sustainable, they leave a very small footprint on their planet. They don't burn dirty fossil fuels that choke the atmosphere. They don't dump synthetic plastics into the ocean. They live in perfect harmony with their biological environment. If an ancient, highly evolved alien civilization lived perfectly on Earth for 1,000,000 years, they would be almost entirely invisible to us. They would recycle all their materials with perfect efficiency. They would use clean, renewable energy sources like solar or geothermal power. They would leave absolutely no weird chemical spikes in the rock record. The ultimate sign of a highly successful civilization is its total invisibility in the deep fossil record. By stark contrast, your massive, undeniable geological footprint is a glaring sign of your failure. You are leaving a blazing neon sign in the rocks precisely because you are behaving unsustainably. Your loud chemical signature is merely a symptom of your impending ecological collapse. It is a terrifying realization when you truly think about it. You are making yourself easily detectable to future civilizations only because you are rapidly destroying your own habitat. If humanity survives the next few centuries and becomes a truly advanced, sustainable species, you will stop leaving these toxic markers. You will fade quietly back into the natural background of the biosphere. Your loud, messy footprint will completely disappear. So let's reconstruct a day in the life of a hypothetical indigenous alien species that mastered this balance. Let's imagine they lived 100 million years ago during the mid-Cretaceous period. They are evolved from a highly intelligent, fast-moving lineage of theropod dinosaurs. They are perfectly bipedal, incredibly smart, and deeply social creatures. You watch them wake up in a sprawling, beautiful city made entirely of engineered organic materials. They don't use dead, static materials like concrete or steel to build their homes. They use biologically grown living structures that naturally heal themselves when damaged. They don't have smoke-belching cars or paved asphalt highways. They use advanced biological mass transit powered by clean geothermal energy tapped from deep underground. They are completely and seamlessly integrated into the natural biosphere of the planet. They go to work in massive, highly efficient agricultural hubs located outside the living cities. They don't use harsh synthetic nitrogen fertilizers that poison the rivers. They use precisely engineered microbes to perfectly enrich the soil without any toxic runoff. They manage the global ecosystem with incredible scientific precision and deep respect. They are the ultimate, perfect stewards of the Earth. When their civilization eventually falls, perhaps due to the sudden and catastrophic asteroid impact 66 million years ago, their world ends. Their organic living cities simply die and rot away completely, returning to the soil. Their deep geothermal taps naturally collapse and are quickly swallowed by the moving tectonic plates. Their microscopic engineered fertilizers fade quietly back into the natural soil ecology without a trace. They leave absolutely nothing behind to prove their genius. They lived beautifully for 1,000,000 years. They were infinitely more advanced and wiser than you are today, and they are completely lost to time. You will never find their bones. You will never find their buildings. You will never know they were here. Compare that elegant, invisible existence to your morning routine today. You wake up inside a rigid concrete building that disrupts the natural water flow of the land. You drive a heavy metal car powered by burning ancient, crushed plants. You drink your morning coffee from a disposable plastic cup that will easily outlive your great-grandchildren. You are a walking, breathing geological anomaly. You are an active participant in the loudest, messiest, most destructive burst of biological activity in the history of the entire planet. Humanity is the incredibly noisy, disruptive neighbor of deep time. You are leaving a permanent, toxic scar on the face of the Earth, and you are doing it completely blind to the vast stretches of time that came before you. You naturally assume you are the very first intelligent species because you cannot see anyone else's garbage. But maybe the real sign of a true civilization is leaving no garbage at all. Maybe the Earth has quietly hosted dozens of brilliant, beautiful, perfectly invisible societies, and you are just the first ones foolish enough to leave a permanent, toxic stain. You stand on that rocky shoreline today, staring out at the water. Cold wind bites your face just like it bit the faces of your distant ancestors. The grey ocean churns below you, stretching out endlessly toward a horizon that has looked exactly this way since the dawn of time. You hold a plastic and rare earth metal phone in your hand. You feel the poured concrete path beneath your heavy boots. You look out at the dark water and feel completely alone. You are actively producing a massive legacy of pollution, resource extraction, and radioactive dust. You might not be the very first intelligent being to stand here, but if you keep acting like this, you will definitely be the last. You wake up when your body is ready. No alarm, no schedule, no place you need to be.